Hello, National University Virtual High School students. This is Mr. Goyette. Wanted to go over with you Unit 3 course information. Wanted to discuss the Spanish-American War and go into expansion of the Navy, Roosevelt's presidency, Grover Cleveland's presidency, and talk more about the United States understanding of itself as a superior world power, and this whole understanding of manifest destiny, how that affected both government decisions and the idea that the United States was to quickly expand and get involved in the world affairs more, stepping away, of course, from Washington's farewell address reminders to avoid all foreign entanglements. So let's get into some of the information you will see on the Unit 3 quiz, and I'll go in a chronological order there. Okay, so first thing I wanted to talk about was when the war broke out with Spain in 1892. Roosevelt was serving as the Assistant Secretary of the Navy. Of course, he dropped that position and got together with the Rough Riders and headed to Cuba to lead his Rough Riders unit to victory there. Those who favored overseas expansion by the United States in the late 19th century argued that there was a multifaceted reasons for the United States to expand. Increasing American production necessitated acquisition for additional markets. In other words, we needed to sell to other countries now that we had all these goods to provide and all these goods to sell. A worldwide scramble for empire. Other countries were out there scouting for land, so the United States felt impelled to do the same, to secure lands, to keep its interests safe. And of course, we've talked a little bit about Monroe Doctrine. So a worldwide scramble for empire, not including the United States, might eliminate American opportunities for growth as well as threaten its defenses. And it was the United States' duty, many felt, that its destiny was to expand its superior government and culture to less privileged and capable peoples. You'll remember that, of course, the French and the British and the Dutch were also under this spell at one time, under this understanding at one time. We talked about colonialism and imperialism, and how colonialism can be both a positive and negative. Colonialism and imperialism can have both positive and negative effects on the nation that is being colonized. The end of the frontier in America raised fears about diminishing opportunities at home. Now that from sea to shining sea, you could see the given destiny that America had, now achieved its continental aims of going from the Atlantic to the Pacific. It was now the nation was thinking, okay, well, what are we going to do? Where are we going to get our additional lands? The United States reasserted the Monroe Doctrine as a cornerstone of its foreign policy by insisting that the British submit its dispute with Venezuela over the boundary of the British Guiana to U.S. arbitration, because the Monroe Doctrine stated that anything on the continent, including North and South America, was to be overseen and dealt with by the United States, not by any other European or foreign powers. Military strategist and historian Alfred Thayer Mahan advocated an American policy of expanding the nation's merchant marine at this time, and the Navy. President Grover Cleveland responded to Cuba's rebellion against Spain by offering to mediate the struggle. In 1898, the American battleship Maine was at the time, of course, Americans felt they had been attacked directly, and some felt that it was sabotaged by Cuban revolutionaries, that it was captured by Spanish authorities in Havana and exploded. Really, what had happened, and subsequent investigations discovered that it was probably, most likely, sunk as a result of accidental internal explosion within either the kitchen or the engines, and because of that, it started this whole entanglement, this war with Spain over Cuba. Which of the following factors contributed to America's desire for war against Spain in 1898? Of course, we talked about the Maine just now, and the Maine galvanized public opinion. It collected public opinion toward fighting the war, making it something that had to be fought. The publication of the Delome letter, and I can go over that a little bit later, what the Delome letter was, but you can review that in your textbook. Spain's use of the reconcentration policy in Cuba was another thing that spurred America to get involved in the war. And American desire for Cuban independence was also a major part of that move, because Americans in the United States felt that perhaps if Cuba was independent, it would free up, they'd be a better trading partner, and that perhaps they would fall under either become a protectorate of ours, much like Guam or Puerto Rico is now. That did not fall that direction. In leading the country toward war, we'll remember that McKinley might probably be labeled as a moderate in steering a middle course between popular sentiment and international considerations. McKinley resisted popular sentiment for war while he considered the international implications of the U.S. entry. He was not a firebrand, raging warmonger. He actually went about it rather slowly, although some historians at the time thought he was beating the drum to go forward. Really, McKinley resisted popular sentiment to start the war right away. The Teller Amendment was added to the war declaration against Spain in 1898 to assure Cuba that the United States would grant Cuba independence once the war was over. Many anti-imperialists opposed American annexation of the Philippines at this time, so moving from Cuba to the Philippines, because they feared that it would violate America's historical preference for independence and self-determination. So remember, self-determination being the idea that people of those nations or of those lands should rise up themselves and take their own country. After all, it was not in the War for Independence, a country didn't come over here. We did get, of course, a lot of help from the French. About 80% of all gunpowder was from France that helped us win that war. But the French didn't come over and take over the United States in order to give it to us. They let us fight the war. We beat the British, and then we took it over ourselves. So this whole idea of going over the Philippines and taking over the island in order to free them, in other words, making them your subjects in order to free them, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So people didn't get behind that. Many Americans didn't get behind that. They thought it would violate America's historical preference for independence and self-determination. The Filipinos cooperated with Americans to drive the Spanish from the islands during the Spanish-American War. The United States Secretary of State John Hay, at his open door policy, provoked the Boxer Rebellion of Chinese nationalist intent. The United States Secretary John Hay's open door policy guarded against partition of China into foreign colonies and the subsequent loss of American trading opportunities. So we got about a minute or so left on this YouTube broadcast, and I might have to split this into two sessions. So Secretary of State John Hay's open door policy guarded against the partition of China into foreign colonies and the consequent loss of American trading opportunities. During the early 19th century, some Americans urged abolition of foreign service because the profession itself stirred dangers of entanglement in world struggles. Again, going back to the founding fathers reminding us to stay out of foreign affairs. A lot of Americans felt that don't send foreign service professionals over to other countries. That's only going to upset people in those countries, and when you do that, you're begging for conflict. So many people did not see foreign service as a service that was directly connected to a patriotic duty. They saw it as a threat to national security, or a kind of intervening where we were not welcome. Proponents in favor of overseas expansion in the United States in the later 19th century argued that there was a worldwide scramble for empire that might eliminate American opportunities, and we had to get in there, that it was our duty to extend civilization and Christianity to the less privileged peoples. that increasing American production necessitated acquisition of additional markets.